and digital product design company based in Norwich. And yeah, I've been busy over the last few months. So my first question, I guess, is who's working from home? Normally, I'd ask for a bit of a show of hands, but obviously it's quite difficult for me to see you at the moment, which is kind of the problem that we're trying to solve. Obviously, the world of work has taken a bit of a change this year. And a lot of what we're hearing is that actually it's change that was going to happen anyway. It's just been accelerated massively over the course of, let's say, about 9 months or so, rather than what we were expecting, which was perhaps over the next 10 to 20 years, people would start to be a bit more flexible in the way that they work within offices. So people obviously have been experiencing working from home now for the last 9 months. And if you're in industries like ours, that has become very quickly the norm. And during the various lockdowns and changes in the way that the government have changed the way that we have been working, people have been trying out different ideas. They've been piecemeal going back into some offices, but actually people are just generally being a bit more flexible with their time. So we've explored why, whether or not this is something that actually is likely to stay. And our team, we're a small team, have basically decided that we are going to be remote by default. And that's made a few changes for us. And one of the things we've been looking for is office space for when we actually want to meet. So first of all, talking about working from home, there's actually lots of benefits to working from home. First of all, it's much better for people to be more flexible with their time. People on average, if they're able to work from home a little bit more often, get roughly about 3 hours a week back in time that they can spend with their family, or in my instance, with my dogs. 68% of us want to actually keep some form of working from home. Once things calm down and the pandemic starts to alleviate, we're actually expecting that the majority of people will want some sort of flexible arrangement. And employers are already making some changes to allow that to happen. Some of the biggest companies in the world, in fact, have actually changed the way that they operate so that people can choose to work from home in the future if they'd like to. People tend to eat healthier. If you've got more time at home, you're able to buy your own ingredients, you're able to spend more time in the kitchen and cook more, and you tend not to go out and buy fatty food at lunchtimes. So actually people are eating a little bit healthier as well. And even, when things, people are actually wanting to stay remote and completely be remote from their company's offices, only about a fifth of those people would consider moving completely away from the area where their company is based. So most people actually want to stay relatively close to the companies they work for. And that's because they are still interested in this flexible arrangement, even if they want to work from home. It's also better for businesses. So people are productive about 75% of the time at home compared to slightly less at the office. And that's because of various interruptions from people and the time that you spend in things like commuting and getting yourself set up at the desk and all those sorts of things. They actually change the way that you work. So if you're at your desk at home, you tend to be a little bit more focused. And employers obviously can save on having those expensive offices, particularly in the larger city centres, places like London, where rates are incredibly high and rents are very, very high. Actually, not having to have the real estate on tap to support your entire workforce is a massive cost save. But in addition to that, hiring flexible workers is actually brilliant for diversity and inclusion. If you are a flexible workspace, then people who have children or they have care requirements at home, or even if they have a disability or a change to the way that they would need to work, then actually offering flexible working is much, much better for them as well. But it's actually better for us in general. If there's fewer people on the roads, there's fewer carbon emissions. And actually we've seen that even when there's the same number of cars on the roads, so during the pandemic, people were being a bit more flexible with their time, going into work at different times and so on, we found that the same number of cars actually were on the roads than before the pandemic, but pollution was less and emissions were less. And the reason is people weren't stuck in traffic jams. So we know that it's actually better for the environment, for the world as a whole. Healthier lifestyles, of course, improve our healthcare outcomes. So we're going to find that we've got a healthier workforce and healthier people in general. And obviously, diversity as a whole is going to be better if we hire flexible workers. But we do need a balance, and people are recognizing actually that working from home for most people is not the answer, and working from the office for many people is not the answer. What we want is a bit of a balance. About 55% of people actually miss socializing with colleagues, and that's the main thing we've seen, is that most people actually really miss just the chatting with people and sort of being connected with their teams. And actually millennials are the ones that really miss the routine of going into work or actually having that communication with their teams, much more than actually some of the older population who are quite happy to work from home and sod everyone else. But what we're finding is most people are actually talking about collaborating. They want to do the things that are meaningful with each other together. They don't want to do that over Zoom. They'd much rather be in the same place. So for some of that focus work, they want their own space, but for working together, they want to actually be in the same space. But the problem we found is that offices and office space has not changed to fit this new way of working. Offices are generally come in two forms. You either have to buy or rent your own space, which is obviously very expensive, or you have to book things sort of once off when you need something. The problem, of course, with the rental stuff is that it's actually incredibly inflexible. Most offices are rented over a very long period, so the average lease for commercial property is something in the region of about 6 years. But generally 5 to 10 year leases are the norm, which means that if you ever need to change those offices, it's quite difficult actually to scope out and change the offices, the number of people that are sitting in them. And of course, if you've got lots of people that then decide they want to work from home a fair amount, it's unoccupied and it's wasted money. And then, of course, if you need to shrink or you need to grow your company, it's actually very difficult then to break out of contracts, move everybody into a new building, find something that everyone's happy with, all those sorts of things. Flexible offices, though, are generally, they're much more flexible, but they're also not the right answer. Flexible offices generally for the sort of 1 day a month bookings are just meeting rooms. They're just a big table with lots of chairs around them, which is fine if you want to meet, but actually no good if you want to have a good day's work. Co-working space is all over the place. You can go into a WeWork and you can pick up a desk and that's no problem. But actually, if you're a team of people who want to meet privately and have a day of work privately, you want your own office, right? So usually minimum number of days apply for flexible offices too. You have to book like 10 days a month, or you have to have a month at a time, which isn't very flexible either if you've got a force of people who want to be more flexible at the time. And they're really boring. Every single space that we've looked at is dull as dishwater. They are white walls, black chairs and brown tables. And it's just not the most inspiring workplace. If you want to go and meet your colleagues and friends for a day of good work, you want to be somewhere inspiring. You want to be somewhere that actually makes you feel like you can do a good day of work. So we've decided to try and solve this problem with Nook. Nook is the future of flexible workspace. And the idea is that you can book very, very flexibly for 1 day if you wanted to, or for multiple days a month if you wanted to. So the way it works is you just book your Nook, you find a location that suits you and somewhere that fits all of the people that you want to go and meet. You visit your Nook and you can do that once, or you could do it once a month. You could do it 4 times a month. It's entirely up to you. And you enjoy all the stuff that's in that Nook. So you can use all the gear, you can plug into monitors, you can adjust your desks, you can use the coffee. It's your office for the day. And if you have your own office already and you want to do something that's a little bit more flexible, so perhaps your team aren't actually visiting it every day anymore and you want to let it out to others, you can list your Nook. So you list it online, you choose the price that you want people to pay to use it for the day, and you can offer things like food provided from local cafes. You can provide extra facilities like meeting rooms and reception services. So we've actually done this with our own office. Over the last few months, we've turned our office into a flexible meeting and working space called the Nook. It's got 4 desks. They're socially distanced, so it's all COVID safe. Every desk has got hand sanitizer and wipes. They're all electrically adjustable to your height, and they've got 4K monitors that you can just plug in and play. There's plugs on the desk, so it's really easy to just get started and get working. Plus, you also have your own little meeting space in there as well. So your team can actually flex between sitting at a desk and working and going and sitting at a nice table with comfy seating, a big TV, and obviously all those little features and things are included. So you've got your coffee, soft drinks, all that sort of stuff. And we're finding it's a really nice space and people are wanting to book it regularly. We've got teams that are actually booking it once or twice a month, and they want to book it kind of for the next 6 months at a time. There's huge opportunity in this area. Flexible operators are at value around £57 billion a year, and they grow about 14% year on year. And at the moment, there's no competition in this space at all. So all of the big players, your WeWorks and Regis's, actually want people to book for a long period. They don't want these short bookings, but they also don't have the flexibility of going out to people who have their own properties or rent their own properties, which is where Nook comes in. So the plan is for us is to create a few more Nooks. We're talking to some businesses in Norwich at the moment about exploring some different types of spaces for people to book. We're going to roll out a marketplace where people can book they can create their own Nook and they can list it in the marketplace for it to be booked.
30 seconds.
And we want to support those Nooks to get running. So we're going to help those ones, and then we're going to iteratively build on the platform. So we're currently actively designing the platform ready for launch next year. And yeah, any feedback that people have, I would love to hear it later on. Thank you very much.